Hi everybody, this is Anne. Recently, I came across a deal to purchase 18 commercial pottery forms averaging about $3 each. I couldn't pass it up. I've been playing around with them and designed some projects for you. In this video, I'll show you how to use the forms as push plates, and in addition, I'll show you how I use templates to alter the resulting forms into fish. Here are the forms that I received in the package. They're all perfect geometric shapes with beveled tapered edges. Each shape comes in sets of 3s with different sizes. This way you can make pieces that go together for sets or even fit together for nesting dishes. You can stack the forms and drape clay over them to create deeper bowls, or even use the forms as a foot for a bowl. I can already see I'll have fun with these. For those who haven't seen the push plate method before, I'll demonstrate it using this oval form. I wire off a slab of clay from my block. I roll it out to a 1/4 inch thick between the two rulers and rib it smooth on both sides. With the widest side of the form down on the clay, I cut the slab around the form. Using a damp finger, I smooth and bevel the edges of both sides of the slab. I place the slab down on a thick piece of foam. I turn the form over so the smaller side is facing the slab and make sure it's centered. Using both hands over the form, I firmly pushed it down into the slab, rocking it slightly back and forth. I then remove the form from the slab, and I have the perfect oval plate. Now those are lovely, but I thought it'd be fun to try and alter the shape of the slab and see what happens. As the oval form reminds me of a fish, I thought I'd attempt that by creating a template for one. I turned the wider side of the form down on a piece of paper and traced around it. Beginning at the rounded edge, I drew a line extending out about 1.5 inches. I drew a V shape over that and drew them back towards the oval for the fish head. I did the same thing to the back end, but creating more of a tail shape. By the way, if you're worried about doing the drawings, don't be. There's a link to these free templates in the description section below. I'll give the fish an eye about here. I cut it out for this cute fish shape. On a 1/4 inch slab, I cut out the template. I smoothed and beveled the edges of both slab sides with a damp finger. I went ahead and opened a space for the eye. I placed the slab on top of the thick foam. I centered the form over the slab, then pushed it down like I did with the first demo. I positioned the tail and the head down just a little bit, curling them over my finger. Now there's my plate. He needs to dry slowly under plastic with just a little weight over the center to avoid buckling. Here's one I made earlier of that same idea. I actually pushed a piece of bubble wrap down over the slab before cutting it out to create texture. I also sectioned off portions of his body and underglazed it with Amico Bright Red. I added some yellow stripes with Amico Marigold. I glazed the red stripes with Amico Weeping Plum. I used clear glaze over the white areas for this really cute guy. Now I can make a whole school of the exact same fish which will stack together. Now let's see if I can make an angelfish from the triangle form. Again, I turned over the form to the widest side and traced around it. In the center of one of the sides, I drew a short perpendicular line. I drew a U over the line, then traced more U's into a tail form. On the pointed end opposite the tail, I drew the fish lips. I wanted to extend the back sides of the triangle out, so I drew an angled line out from the corner and attached it back to the triangle. I needed it to be symmetrical to the opposite corner, so I folded the paper over so it met up with the other corner. I could see the tracing underneath, so I traced over top of that. The pencil lines transferred down. I cut out the template, and here he is. Again, I just needed to cut out the template from the 1/4 inch slab. Don't forget to smooth and bevel the edges down. This time, I used the back end of one of my tools to create an eye. I placed him down on a bit wider piece of thick foam. I centered the form down and pushed like before. Again, I dried this slowly under plastic. Now here's one I made earlier, ready to go into the bisque fire. I rolled checkered shelf liner into the slab before cutting out the fish and leaving a section without texture where I painted the shells. After bisque firing, I glazed the textured area with Amico Weeping Plum and clear glaze over the shells for this fun piece. Now let's try something a little different. I created another template using this rectangle for my guide. I drew two facing fish on one end of the template, folded the paper, and traced the exact pair on the other end so I have two identical fish on either side. I rolled the checkered shelf liner into 1/4 of the slab, then positioned the template over the slab where I wanted it and cut it out. Since I had tighter corners to cut, I used an X-Acto knife. I didn't cut out the center area between the fish, but only traced it for now. I'll cut that out when the clay is a firm leather hard. I worked the edges of the slab down slowly and carefully on both sides with a damp finger. Now let's center the form and push it into the clay. Remember, when the piece is leather hard, to cut out that center from the fish, then dry it slowly under plastic. Here's one that I made earlier. I divided the textured and non-textured areas with border lines, then drew and painted the shells in the untextured area. I painted the fish with bright colors of underglaze. To finish it, I glazed the textured area with Amico Sky Blue, and then white glaze around the shells and fish. Let's do one more, this time using the largest oval. Again, I created a fish template, but this time I wanted to alter the inside of the platter with walls. I divided the template into thirds on one side, then folded it in half to mark the other side of the template, unfolded it, and connected the dots. I laid the template down and lightly traced the lines down onto the clay. I then cut the template from the slab. Now I can place it on the foam and push the form down into it. For the divider walls, I'm using this adjustable Diamond Core R2 extruder. I flattened the top of my clay block and ran it across the top to create a beveled wall. I laid the strip over the marked dividing line and marked where the wall would fit down into the platter and angled an extending line out from there. I cut the angled strip with an X-Acto knife on both sides. Now all I had to do was just score, slip, and attach them in place. I used the overhanging clay from the division wall to make this extra feature on the sides. I altered the side walls of the fish around the divisions for extra movement. Now here's another version of this project that I made earlier. I experimented by using the next smallest oval pushed into the slab so I had higher walls. I then cut the divisions and connected them in V-shapes for a more herringbone look. I divided the fish into sections and decorated the sides using a ball tool dipped in black underglaze. If you want to learn how to do this, check out the video link above. To glaze it, I brushed 3 layers of Amico Indigo float around the sides and center of the platter, then clear glaze over the decorated sections. I'm excited about what else I can create with these basic forms. I'm sure you already have some ideas too. If you do, let me know in the comments below. thanks to the newest members of our Little Street Pottery Research Facility team. If you'd like to join the team and earn a title, click on the Super Thanks button or the link to buy me a coffee. It also really helps us out if you hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. See you next time in the studio.